Welcome to CR111 Moodle page. So this is our home page, our landing page for Moodle, and it has some common features you'll find on all your Moodle pages. And I think it's important for us to have a look at this Moodle page to understand the information that will enable you to be successful. This complements the articulate learning system and modules you're working through and contains core information. So the Moodle page has a landing page, forums which you will find that will change over time and throughout the semester. But what I call these are tiles. Now these tiles have some common welcome tutorial information where we'll post links to the various sessions that we have and you'll be able to access them there. Unit information, which I like to spend a little bit of time, and what's your assessment information and portal. Notice there's lots of other tiles, different modules that we'll be covering over the time, and you'll find with other Moodle pages that have different tiles and different names, but the format is common. So let's dive into important information. So here is the online tutorials. And with those online tutorials, here's week 1 recordings and links, and it goes through. So if you're looking to cover or review information, you'll find them there. Importantly, the unit information is the rich and important, significant information of the unit. First one is our unit outline, which we'll spend on shortly, and the weekly outline or schedule, which details when we'll be doing which modules and when, and important resources, for example, that are useful for this unit. The assessment. The assessment is the portal. So we have a number of quizzes in this unit. We have 10 altogether, 5 numeracy and 5 literacy. And this is where you access those quizzes. And also we have examinations, and you access it online there. These are what we call Turnitin portals, and this is where you'd submit work. In this unit, you only need to submit in the third task, and this is where you would lodge your links, your documents for your submissions. So all the assessment information is in the assessment tile. Coming back to our top page here, our unit information. So that's our assessment, but here's our unit outline. Our unit outline has its name and code, what courses it's applicable to, and workload. But here's where it gets probably important that you have a good understanding. I'll ask you to review this. It talks about what's the rationale. What are we going to be focusing on? Well, we're focusing on cross-curricular literacies, and there's no surprise. It talks about literacy, numeracy, and digital skills. But then it lists the content that we are going to be covering. And that content doesn't mean week 1, week 2. This is the content we're going to be covering across the course. And what are the resultant learning that we'd expect you to achieve as you complete the course? Their learning outcomes. Important to many students is the assessment tasks. There's 3 assessment tasks in CR111, quizzes, which you've seen, and examination at the end. But also you need to create a web page and a web justification for learning. So that's the third task, and it gives a short description of it. We'll be creating a website, and you're looking at literacy, numeracy, and digital practices. This is how long it is. There's the parts. When is it due? Week 11, for example. And you see on every assessment task it has a due date. Importantly, which needs not to be overlooked, is how do I pass this unit? So to receive a passing grade, we need to adequately submit attempts at all tasks and then achieve a summative grade when they add up to more than the pass, that is 50%. This section is different for different units. It may, for some other units, you must pass every assessment. But in this unit, for example, you might not pass one quiz, for example. That doesn't mean you won't pass the unit. But you must have an overall grade which is above the pass standard. So that's the assessment, but flowing down to that is maps. The assessment is mapped against your content and learning and the graduate teacher standards, which you'll gain more understanding of as you progress through the whole Bachelor of Education course. But this is important. It's called the assessment elaboration. Now what this does is give you the flesh, the meat, so to speak, on the individual assessment task. Well, with quizzes, they're online, and the examination's online, so you really have to go through online and achieve those scores. But the one that you submit through Turnitin is task 3. Now, in that it has two parts. A is the justification, worth 15%, and it outlines the things that you need to include there. Part B is creation of a website, and again 15%, and it provides information about what you will need to do on your website. So the elaborations give the detail, whereas the assessment task gives you the summary. Following from that is important if there's prescribed text or key readings or key sources of information. And that's common, that structure is common to all unit outlines. So the unit outline is an important document in terms of what is the course is about. I call it the contract of learning. It says this is what we're going to learn, this is what you're going to achieve, this is how we're going to assess it and when it's due, and so on. So that's important. Complementing this is the weekly schedule or weekly outline. So we'll open up that. We clicked on that, it downloaded. We'll open up the download and come across here. So it tells us in week 1, this is what we'll be doing. In week 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., what modules we'll be covering across that time. Importantly, what's being assessed. Now, for example, by week 6, we start on all the quizzes, quiz 1, etc., quiz 2, and we go through with the final examination at the end in exam week. Importantly, where does task 3 land, for example, and it tells you here. That's the due date for that previous semester that we run this schedule is about. So what the weekly schedule does, it complements the unit outline and says, okay, here's the module, this is when we're doing it, and it aligns those things together. So I would encourage you to have that downloaded and and your unit outline and stored it digitally in a file called CR111. They're the key bits of information. So recapping, the Moodle homepage will give lots of information to you. You'll have a sequence of tiles, and I've identified the key tiles that I think are common not only to CR111 but to all units, and here's the individual information. Now that'll be supported by your Articulate Learning Management System where you'll scroll through each module, but there's additional supporting information through each module here. So hopefully you've found this video instructive and informative.